Yeah, given the fact that there are less videos for me to do per week, which is a blessing in itself because mentally, good Lord, it feels like my mind is out of a fog of the constant grind of getting things done before a particular date. But I've been able to, be more active on my social media in terms of writing detailed posts, going over my thoughts on different characters and, things of that nature pertaining to sisters. And they've been doing very well. I mean, only a few people have disagreed with me, but those are really the Karen stands and whatnot. But for the most part, each post I have been as detailed as possible going into my thoughts on particular subjects. And for those who bother to read all of it, they do agree with what I have to say. And those who don't, some of them have actually left well thought out responses. Others just try to clap back with no real context to their messages. But this particular video, I want to talk about, why Karen can't stand Fatima. And personally, I feel like it's just because she can't find a reasonable or legitimate reason to dislike her. I mean, how many times has she said that she's a cool chick? I mean, if I remember correctly, she's even said it to her face at the penthouse. And then her mom even said she's a cool chick, and even Karen had to agree. But it's just the fact that you can tell the longer the show goes on and the more this hostility is stretched out between Karen and Fatima, it just seems clear that Karen's really just mad at herself. And this statement goes to a number of characters, not just Karen. It's the lack of accountability. Who she's really mad at is herself. Who she's really mad at is herself, due to the fact that she can't find a real reason to hate Karen. To hate Fatima, as someone who was a 90s baby and, watching a lot of animated shows back when they really knew how to write shows with lessons and morals in them. That's not to say there aren't good shows out there today, but back in the, 90s, early 2000s, it truly was a time of quality entertainment, and how it felt like television shows really didn't have to baby step or hold your hand. You could watch a show and get something out of it. And watching some of these shows like, let's say, Kim Possible, Recess, just to name a couple off the top of my head, watching those shows as an adult, I'm really impressed by how some of those lessons can stick, to your ribs even today, because they're so good. And what I want to address in this particular topic or video is the fact that sometimes someone is better than you at something and you can't stand it. The person is friendly, good-mannered, isn't malicious, is humble. And let's say, you were at the top of your class because let's say you were the best at math, or you were the fastest runner in PE or something to that effect. And then let's say a new student transfers in and all of a sudden they outdo you at everything. And you just feel pissed because it feels like they stepped on your turf. They took what was yours, what you had to grind for years or months or whatever. And then they just come in and everything seems so easy. And everybody around you is cool with them. But you can't stand them because of the fact that you feel like they robbed you of your title. Like, oh man, you were like a popular kid, or you had a lot of friends because you were the best of this, the best of that. But then someone comes in and just takes it all away. That's how Karen feels. But here's the difference between those analogies from, Recess or whatever versus Sistas. It's the fact that in those cartoons I just, referenced, if a student comes in, they transfer in, and then they're all of a sudden just better at, at everything than you, that's really not your fault. I mean, sure, you could try to get better, but hey, if you're at your top of your game, you're at the top of your game. But when it comes to Sisters specifically, Karen fails to recognize. No, I feel like she knows what she did wrong, but refuses to acknowledge it. She chose to dump Zach. And honestly, I remember saying this at end of season 1, early season 2. I was hoping that she wouldn't take Zach back, that just because he saved her life doesn't mean she should be obligated to go back to him, because that, hero, I guess you could say, admiration would wear off at some point when the same problems would, rear their ugly head in their relationship. But it also just felt crazy to me, like, okay, I'm glad you didn't choose Zach just because you felt you had to because he saved your life. But why in the world would you pursue Aaron, the man who was indirectly responsible for the attack on your life to begin with? It just doesn't make sense to me. But she chose to let Zach go. And when Zach was, I don't know, just still struggling and whatnot, nobody said anything. But the moment that she sees that Zach is doing well, all of a sudden, oh, I got a problem with it. But the thing is, go back to the grocery store. We're talking the season finale of season 2. This was after she had had sex with Zach in her office. And if I remember correctly, Andy and Gary were engaged. And Karen didn't say anything because Sabrina was surprised, Danny was surprised. And then they looked at Karen like, Karen, you're awfully quiet. Why aren't you saying anything about this? Well, because, I want to give Zach another chance. So she's like, well, I can't really tell Andy nothing about Gary because I want to try something new. Well, I just want to try to work things out with Zach again. So basically, kind of like Andy in terms of being embarrassed is one of her biggest, pet peeves. I think Karen, all of this animosity started because she felt like, okay, I decided to give Zach another chance, but oh no, not only is he messing around with Fatima, but while they were doing their thing together, he didn't even bring up my name. Basically, she felt unimportant. But the thing about that is, when you look at her dynamic with Aaron throughout season 2, she did, have nightmares and yell out Zach's name in her sleep, but that made sense because she's still fresh off the fact that she got attacked in her home and Zach was stabbed, and she was sleeping in the same bedroom where all this stuff went down. So yeah, it made sense. She never really took time to move on, and it kind of felt the same way with Zach because, after the thing with Karen went south, boom, Fatima came into his life. And then with Aaron, Karen really didn't have time to work. She didn't take the time. She didn't take the time to work through the process of getting over a 3-year toxic relationship before she got in the car with Aaron, metaphorically speaking. So, feeling unimportant, she feels robbed of the fact that, the Zach of today is who I've worked for 3 years to try to get. But it's like, if you look at the progress, if you will, of Zach and Karen's relationship, he was never going to be the Zach of today. He never was. And Karen saw that and kicked him to the curb. And then when you look at the friend circle, I think Karen feels a sense of betrayal because here she was getting close to Fatima. Unbeknownst to her, this almost new friend was seeing her ex without her knowing it. But the thing about it is, Fatima spent a good portion of season 3 trying to get on, I wouldn't even say get on Karen's good side, but to let her know that she genuinely did not know that her and Zach were a thing in the past. And if she did, she wouldn't have bothered with him. So at that, it eventually got to the point where Fatima just stopped being respectful because she was allowing Karen on more than one opportunity to throw shade, give her the side eye, just disrespect her. But it came to a head where it's like, look, I've been apologetic, but that time has ended. Now, when it comes to the friend group, Danny said it. Sabrina now recently said it. You're missing out on who could be a good friend to you. I mean, yeah, it's very awkward considering the whole ex situation, but that's not Fatima's fault. Not to mention, she didn't really know Fatima. Well, Fatima didn't know Karen well enough to just say, oh, I'm done with Zach, because she didn't know it like that. If I were, look, I could be misremembering because it's been quite a while, but I think Fatima even said at one point that if she knew that Zach and Karen had a thing, then she wouldn't have never messed around with him in the first place. If I remember correctly, she did throw him out of the apartment, and then, Zach went over to Danny's, but then she threw him out despite the fact that he had paid rent. But, Zach did counter with the fact that, well, Fatima, me and you weren't actually a thing. I mean, I've tried to ask multiple times what we are, but you didn't want to define it. But even still, Zach, while he is technically right, I don't think it's a good idea. Like, you know me, I'm still waiting for the house thing to be done with. Let's say I met a girl and she let me stay at her apartment or her house. And I stayed for, let's say, 3 weeks. We were intimate and whatnot. Even though she didn't want to put a title on what we're doing, it was made clear that I'm the only guy she's been seeing and I'm the only girl I've been seeing. Even though technically we aren't a thing, I don't think it would be a good idea for me to, let's say, interact with a prior love interest and have sex with her. And then when it gets found out by the girl that I'm staying with, I get mad if she kicks me out because on a technicality, I didn't cheat. It just seems like, I believe that's called the courting stage. I don't think that it's a good idea to try to mess around with someone else. I know that the times we live in, you need to have your options open and whatnot. And sometimes, while you are, just focused on one person, that other person could have like multiple options that they're interacting with that you don't know about. But I don't know. But I do think that at the core, Karen is just mad that she can't reasonably come up with a legit list of options as to why she hates Fatima. She feels robbed when in actuality, no, she's not. Fatima has never gone out of her way to try to steal Karen's life or, claim her ex. No, you threw Zach away. Fatima hit him on his bicycle with her car. And then, well, the greatest romance in Tyler Perry history was born. So you really can't be mad. Not to mention the fact that Fatima cultivated the Zach that was discarded to help him grow into the man he is today. I mean, you two just weren't a good fit. And like Zach said, the moment he knew that you two weren't meant for each other was when you had him thrown in jail for a crime he didn't commit. And Karen never apologized. She said, I made a mistake. Well, hey, guess what? Mistakes are to learn from, but the problem is Karen hasn't learned a damn thing. So, yeah, I think that Karen's main reason for not liking Fatima is because she feels like everything is too easy for her. Oh, after only a few weeks with Zach, you were able to get a Zach that I couldn't get for 3 years. And oh, all my girls are laughing and smiling with you having a good time. I never see them laugh and smile like that, with me, even though we've known each other since college. It's just because Fatima, who is not perfect, is a better person than Karen. She doesn't put herself on a pedestal. She doesn't talk down to people. She doesn't look down at people. She doesn't believe herself to be above others. She's a cool chick. And, well, Karen, she's kind of a bitch. So, with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.